Hey guys, well, welcome back to this week's episode of the American Landman. Hey, I just got a call on a brand new listing opportunity, 160 acres, and I'm on my way out there to take a look at it. But why I find this interesting is because it has multiple biomes, different habitat types that are all on this property. That always lends itself to a more valuable property, a more interesting property, a more usable property on so many levels. So I'm going to take you guys out there. I haven't been there myself, but we're going to video it. We're going to talk about what I see. Multiple biome properties on today's episode of the American Landman. Okay, well, we are at the property. Let me get Lucy out here pretty quick. So one thing that I noticed on this property as I was doing my due diligence prior coming here is I always say I start to look at the kind of the demographic travel corridors, demographic growth corridors. I start to take notice of how far out the property is from population centers, and we're not too far north of Menominee, so right out of the gate this has got a couple of interesting things. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the biomes that are on this property, and as I show you the property, you're going to start to see what I'm talking about. Easy, babe. We'll let you go. Hold on. She wants to go run. There's three basic biomes on this property. There's the wooded portion, which is what most people think about when they think of hunting properties, the hardwood forest. And then there's quite a bit of tillable land, and that could be a biome in itself, although it doesn't have a lot of holding capacity for the wildlife. It has an income and it has food, and that's always key. And the third thing is the wetland. There's a significant amount of wetland on this property that we're going to go explore. I personally like to see wetland on properties. It holds the animals, it's thermal cover, it's security escape cover, and it just really adds to the biodiversity. And I personally like to see that at any property I sell. So there's three key habitat features on this property. Now, what does that mean when you start to look at these properties from a resale value? Well, it really comes around to marketing and how the agent or the salesperson markets property and understands the importance of it, because most people are going to look at this property if they're farmers and they're going to say, well, there's a lot of wasted land that's not valuable to me. Or if they're a hunter, and most people think I got to have a lot of timber and there's only a couple pockets here, and so maybe it's less valuable because of that. Or the wetland itself is just wasteland to a lot of people. So marketing and how you look at a property, how the agent looks at it, how they educate the buyer is really key to marketing a property, getting top value, and I will do that here. If I end up listing this property, those key factors that maybe on their own don't appear to be as valuable because there's not a lot of it, is actually a selling plus. It's just all about how you look at it. So when I get to a property that has, a fair amount of tillable land like you see here, I look at it from a couple points of view. Number one is kind of like the quality of the land, and the quality of land is determined by a couple factors. And as far as in the minds of a farmer, number one would be, does it have long fields, long flat fields, because they can get their large combines out here, long straight runs, easy to harvest, not a lot of terrain elevations where they might roll a tractor or whatever, but it's fairly easy to farm. And you kind of see that. We got a pretty good sized field here, and it's fairly flat. It's a little bit pitched, but for the area that I'm in here in Dunn County, Wisconsin, this isn't actually too bad. The second thing is going to be the soil quality. And as you can see, this soil quality tends to be pretty sandy, pretty light, and this is going to affect the yield and how much work they're going to put into the soil as far as fertilizer and chemicals to get it to actually produce, and it could also affect the quality of the crop because of drought or whatever. This area where I'm at in Dunn County, the soils tend to be pretty light. So this actually is pretty typical, but the quality of the soils are going to lead to the quality of the yield and the amount that they're going to rent this land from you. And I can provide this to folks that come to me, but this area, I'm going to say about $100 an acre, $75 an acre. I might get as high as $125 an acre. It's not irrigated, and that's the going rate. So the owner of this property is going to expect a little bit of return. And I like to see ag land because that's going to help pay down your taxes. There's a lot of refuse down here. There's some soybeans in here, right here, some leftover soybeans. The deer will use this. So this is a food source, although it's not great habitat to hold the animals. In the distance though, we've got the next biome. We've got grassland biome with a little bit of hardwood timber. So we're gonna go take a look at that, and we're gonna talk about how that fits in to the overall picture. Okay, well now we're in this kind of a grassy marsh habitat here. This is really interesting to see because this is where the deer like to bed. And I'm seeing a trail right here crossing over. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but this is definitely where the deer are crossing, and they're almost made it. They're crossing from their bedding area heading to the ag area, and that's the food. But this type of biodiversity, these different biomes where they meet, is really interesting. When you're looking for a property, you're going to buy a property, you want to look for this kind of stuff because the food, the water, and the security cover all converge right here. And there's a trail. Sure enough, I got myself all wet crossing it, but there's definitely a trail there. And anytime you have flowing water through a property, that's always a plus. It not only lends itself to good habitat for the animals, it lends itself to good quality marketing when we go to sell it. I know that when we talk about land as a buyer, when you come to me, most of you are thinking, I'm never going to sell a property. But because we watch this vlog and we talk about making money from our land, maybe rolling it up, this is the type of things that you want to look at, because this habitat, this flowing water, multiple biomes, this adds to the saleability. It adds to visual interest. People like creeks. They can kind of envision themselves. I know, like when I was a kid, we used to play in here and catch crayfish and minnows and just have fun and take the dog for whatever and play in the water. People like that. It brings good memories, good feeling about a property. And so when I see flowing water, always a plus. So we're going to head back in here. We're going to go back into this timber block here. There's a fair amount of timber. There's some wetland timber down the way here. We're going to get to that. But let's keep moving through this property. There's a lot of things going on. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Come on, buddy. Okay, well right here, Lucy's on a fantastic trail. And I'm seeing multiple rubs. Here's one here. There's an old one here. And I see one right in front of the camera here. And what this is an example of is multiple biomes converging. So we got a tamarack, grassy tamarack swamp here. Behind the camera, to the left of the camera, is a hardwood timber patch, and then a couple 200-300 yards is the ag field. So we actually have multiple biomes right here, and some microbiomes with this edge along right inside this timber here. So when you're out looking at these properties, and if you're just here for the hunting aspect of it, this is just great areas to key in on. But when you're looking to evaluate a property, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Multiple biomes all coming together. There's just a whole host of activity here. There's trails. There's an old scrape right here. There's rubs. There's you can see evidence of feeding. There's dropping. Just a lot. This is a high intensity area. A lot of activity here. It'd be a great hunting opportunity. Got some good trees around here to get up into. And if I was hunting here during the rut, or even in the early season, and I want to get between bedding and the food, this is what I'm looking for. Just a great example of biomes, and now microbiomes. So you can see this deer run right here going right back into the super thick habitat back there. Nothing that I like better personally than seeing thick wasteland. Wasteland in the terms of it's non-productive, it doesn't have a lot of value, it doesn't add a lot of value in the eyes of most people. But I tell you what, check out this rub right here. To the eyes of the animals that are here, this is exactly what you want. And I'll guarantee you it's holding a lot of population deer. So try to find these things, these areas that most people consider wasted land. Not to guys like you and me. We love to see this land. This is what we're looking for. It's fantastic. Okay, as you saw in that last pan, you could actually see the biome change. Did you notice how the green of the swamp color changed to the brown of the hardwood timber? And what's happening here is there's a little bit of rise here. There's a little hogs back where these biomes are turning over from a grassy swamp, tag alder swamp, to hardwood ridge. And again, this is another one of those microbiomes right through here. And actually, I see a hunter's bunker right up there where he's got a blind. So as I always say in these videos, it's always kind of interesting how a guy that hunts, us guys that hunt, kind of tend to key on these spots. But again, as I bring out a buyer and I start to talk to them about the property, I'm going to bring them to places like this, and I'm going to show them the hunting capability and why these microbiomes and the biomes on this property lend itself to hunting, which lends itself to a better quality property when we sell it. So let's walk over there and take a look at that bunker over there that I see and just kind of take a peek into it. It's just one of the benefits of doing this job. Well, this is kind of cool. I don't think I've seen a defensive bunker that was built this good since I was in the Marine Corps. Talk about a cool blind, but got 360-degree views all the way around, sneak in there. And he's got it positioned right on the edge of this grassy swamp. So pretty cool, brushed in, awesome. Sit in there, get 2 or 3 guys in there. Lucy's even checking out. That's pretty cool. Again, it's one of the benefits of my job. I get to come around and get paid to look at other people's hunting stands. I don't know how you get in there. I want to make some comments about the type of timber that I'm seeing here. We talked about this before in past videos. There's a difference between woods and timber. And what do I mean by that? Well, this is woods. It's got trees, not a lot of valuable trees, but it makes for some good habitat. You can see a lot of trees down, a lot of wood on the ground, a little horizontal cover, but it's pretty open. None of it's super marketable. A lot of the stuff is like this. It's like a maple tree, and it's about 10 to 15 inches in diameter. Not a lot of marketability here. So when you're looking at properties and you're looking at the hardwood biomes, at least in this section, start to take mental notes of what you're seeing. The species, the size, the value. It might not have value from a timber aspect, but it definitely can have valuable from a wildlife aspect. And sometimes there's room for improvement, and that's what I see here. This is a little open. You look up, the canopy is a little closed off. I'd probably come in here and do some hinge cutting, take down some of these smaller trees, get them down, start to open up the ground to the sunlight, and create little microbiomes again within the timber, within your macrobiomes that just make it a lot more favorable to the deer. Well, I think this might be my favorite part of this whole property. There's a great runway trail right here, following the biome edge. There's hardwood timber, tag alders. You can see these little high spots, the little brown areas. Those are tag alders where the ground is a little higher, and I'm sure there's beds out there. The bucks love to bed out there because nothing is going to sneak up on them. And I tell you, when I assess a property, I get a little jealous of this because I don't have this on Indian Creek on my farm. This is actually the best attribute of this whole property, and it probably runs the entire length of the property. It's a great border. It is looked upon by a lot of people as something that's not as valuable. But I can tell you, this is my favorite part of the property. If you want to hold and grow some big bucks, and you're selling a property to hunters like myself or you that's watching this, or if you're an investor that's neither, but you're thinking about selling a property someday, and we talk about this a lot, and knowing who your market is, this is what you're looking for. This adds to the property. It'll hold the value of the property down a little bit because the ag fields, which are the high dollar agricultural acres, the hardwood ridge, which is up on that hill there, we're going to get there in a little bit, that is the high dollar stuff. But this lowland, non-productive, non-desirable to most people actually holds the price down. When you blend this all together, that's actually going to make this property a little bit more affordable, and it lends itself to a great hunting property. So I wish I had more of this on Indian Creek on my farm, but look for this. This is a great attribute to this property. It'll lend itself to the huntability. And again, it's just a fantastic biome, grass marsh biome. Small scrape and a licking branch right here. right on the edge. Okay, I know this is about biomes, but I was sneaking along the edge of the ag field and I saw this, and there's another one back here that the camera's not picking up, but this is a good 6-8 inches around, and this is fresh. And right here along this field edge are 3 or 4 fresh scrapes, and the rut is odd this year. It's dragging out, and they're still scraping. It's amazing. But this property, you know, again, the reason I'm showing you this is that these biomes lend itself to good hunting. It's just a great example. There's at least one pretty good buck working this property. Well, that's kind of a new term in our repertoire of buying and selling land, biomes. Communities of habitats, different habitats of plants, hardwood, tillable field, wetlands. These are biomes. They add to the diversity and to the appeal of a property, not only from the wildlife standpoint, but from the buyer and the user standpoint as well. It all goes together. The more biomes that I find on a property, and I think that the trifectas, if you could find 2 or 3, those are areas that are more frequented by animals. I find them to be more interesting for the buyer, and from a usability standard, it's enhanced as well. So when you're out looking at properties, start to think about those biomes. Think about the different types of habitats you're seeing, and look for a good blend, and it's always a better property if you find it. Hey folks, I appreciate that you follow me on this channel. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and make sure you subscribe, hit both buttons so you know when these videos come up. Folks have been calling me. They seem to like what I'm saying, and if I can help you buy a property or perhaps sell one, then you should give me a call as well. I'm Neil Hogger, and I got my buddy Lucy, the Land Lab, with me. You've been watching The American Landman.